Welcome to the Creation to Cash Flow podcast number 6. Finally, we're getting up there, almost 10. On this podcast, we discuss strategies to maximize your creativity and help you achieve financial freedom. How are you doing today, Michelle?
I'm doing well. I'm feeling a little more relaxed because I'm just chilling on the couch for today's session. How are you doing? Where are you right now?
I'm doing great. I am in Atlantic City, New Jersey right now in a hotel room. So we're both in different settings, but I am incredibly comfortable too. I might just have to come here every Tuesday, Wednesday so that we can I don't know. I'm really comfortable.
I think that's a great idea. People commute to work 1 hour to work and 1 hour home. You could do it for our podcast recordings.
It's true. It's true. Not a big deal at all. So, something to consider. All right, Michelle. So, today our overall topic is going to be social media, which is a funny one because it's going to be hard to keep this podcast under 24 hours, considering like how much time we spend in social media. But maybe to start us off, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your social media journey? Like maybe what made you get started to create an account on something like TikTok?
Well, my journey started back with MySpace, and I've always been somebody who wants to share my life online, which is not what a lot of people, even in my family, prefer to do. But I've always kind of just loved creating content and sharing stuff. I was very anti TikTok, though, for a very long time, just because I didn't understand it. I thought it was for the younger generation, which it used to be. But there was this time, March 2021, I kept trying to post a reel and it was crashing. And I really wanted to post this reel. So I got a TikTok account and I was like, I'm just going to post it to TikTok, whatever. Well, it blew up. And then I was kind of hooked ever since then. And I loved the feeling of knowing like no one knows me. And it was just kind of freeing. So, what about you?
Before we get into me, what was the TikTok about?
Modeling. So it was like just a behind the scenes of me modeling because I've always loved showing behind the scenes. I'm such an authentic person that I don't really care to like show off or like, I don't know. I've always been that way my entire life. And so I was doing a photo shoot and it was this time during it, I was filming it and I just started dancing. And then the photographer came back and I was like, oh, sorry. And she was like, no, keep dancing. That's fun. So I was like, okay. So I kept dancing and she was taking photos. And it was just like such a fun moment of my life. I wanted to share it. And yeah.
My origin story was kind of similar as well. I was definitely anti TikTok. I was like, oh, that's for 15-year-old girls. I'm not going to make an account on there and like dance and sing. Even though now I find myself, if that's what the trend is, sometimes I'll do it and make people laugh. But when I first posted on there, I started a series for like my first ever round of posts was a series, which I have to say was pretty clever because most people still, when they start out, they'll make 100 videos and be like, oh, I should do a series. And my series was recording every single thing I do every day until I'm a millionaire. And I think I only lasted 7 or 8 days of doing that because I realized I was like, this is a ton of work. The first video I ever made and was editing in the TikTok app, I think it took me 2 hours to edit. Then my phone died, lost it all. Then I had to edit for another hour and a half. So nearly 4 hours of editing to post the first one. And I was like, maybe I should just not do this. But I did it. And day 4, and it didn't go viral. It got like 8,000 views. But considering I had like 20 followers, maybe, I felt like I was absolutely famous. I was like, "Oh my god, the paparazzi is gonna be at my front door. Like everyone knows who I am now. Like I can't even go out in public, even though like that's just jokes, of course, but it just gave me this awesome feeling. I was like, "Wait, people are really kind of interested in this." And it got me like 400 followers and I was like, "Whoa, TikTok is amazing." But I had to get over the hurdle of putting myself out there, which was a scary thing to do because I didn't have any, like, modeling or on-camera experience at all. I started a YouTube channel once with my brother and my best friend when we were in middle school, and we made, like, 3 videos, and nothing ever came from it. So I was a little scared to get started, but once I did, I immediately started to see that there was potential here. I had no idea it would help me end up quitting my job one day, and, like, we would be here and you would just meet amazing people online like yourself and now be doing a podcast and all of these things, but that was how my journey started.
Wow. It's crazy to think of that perspective. Like, if I was never posting, I would not be sitting here. I would not be living in California and I would not be doing what I'm doing. We're literally sitting here doing this. That is crazy to think about.
The community and friends that you make through social media too are just so amazing because there's not that many people out there that really know what you're going through, and being part of groups and communities and things like how we got together, just it's just amazing what the doors that social media can open.
Yeah, and of course there's like pros and cons to everything in life, but I love that we both see the big pros of having an online presence in general. Like I love that you're in Jersey and I'm in California and we can connect with people that are nowhere near our physical proximity. I love that about social media. I think that there's a lot of good opportunities that can come from that.
It's true, you're so right about that, and you're so right about, like, online presence because there is not a single person or brand that I can think of that would not benefit from having a strong presence on social media. And presence not meaning like having millions of followers, but presence being like just being super active and having a community and people that are interested. There's not a single brand or person that would not benefit from that.
Well, yeah, and even if something's not active, like for me, I if I'm going to eat somewhere, I will always go straight to social media and look at their food. I want to know what it looks like. I want to know what they have. And if they don't have a social media, I will cross it off the list as an option to even go. And I do that subconsciously. I'm not thinking about it, but I do that. And I'm if I do that as a almost 30-year-old, I'm sure that a lot more people do that as well.
That's definitely going to become a more popular strategy. You're absolutely right because like social media is just becoming such a powerful tool for literally anything and everything. Like my old engineering job, like they're trying to get on social media and not do anything like they're not getting into like user generated content or anything like that, but they post pictures of like their engineering projects and stuff, and it's just like everyone is realizing that you have to be on social media these days if you're looking to reach a large audience because the only other way is through paid ads, which is a scary and unnecessary world.
Yeah, and if you have paid ads, I mean, people are likely to still want to go look at additional things that you have up on your social media because everybody's social media is a representation of the value they bring to whatever their world is revolved around.
So now I want to ask you a little bit about how social media has changed your life.
Ooh. I mean, social media is the exact thing that I started my career doing. So it really has shaped me and helped me understand why I always go capture the most random things because I think there's just beauty all around. Like, even if it's like a raindrop on a flower, like, I want to capture it. And it's so amazing that I get to share those random little things with people online. And so it helps me feel more confident about myself. Like, I have a perspective that can help somebody, even if it's one person. I've been through things and I've gotten through them and I know how I got through them. And the fact that I'm allowed to share my voice is, it really just empowers me to be even more confident in exactly who I am. And I think that that's so powerful. Like, it's just, I love social media for that reason. And I'm not a scroller. Like, I have to remind myself to consume content a lot of times. But as a creator, it's just, I just feel very like I'm thriving. I just thrive with social media.
In my own experience too, like social starting a social media channel was the best thing I've ever done in my life. But at the time, it felt like it could be the worst thing I would ever do in my life or the scariest thing I would ever do. Like putting yourself out there is not easy. But if you can get over that hurdle and see everything that it can bring to the table, oh my God, life can become so good and amazing. My own life has just become exponentially better. Not to mention, sometimes if I'm just not feeling it or I'm like kind of forgetting like who I am as a content creator, I will go and I will just read all of my comments, take screenshots of them, maybe even a voice recording reading those comments and just play it back to myself and be like, wait a minute, like this is about more than just how I feel and putting myself out there. Like I'm improving the lives of a lot of people. And you almost take on this responsibility of like, wow, I'm like, not only am I able to have a positive impact on the world, but I am. I am positively impacting the world. And it is such an empowering feeling. And it's fulfilling too. Life is short, it's a temporary experience being on this earth. So you might as well try and inspire and help as many people as you can, right?
I mean, yeah, if I'm ever feeling down or off, I go serve somebody somehow. I'll go pay for a meal and the Starbucks person line behind me. Like I think that I always have to remind myself too, the world needs what you have to offer, whether that's a big thing you went through that you want to share, or it's like, hey, by the way, screens are measured diagonally, not vertically and horizontally. And so many people, because I shared that recently, I did not know that my 15-inch book bag would fit my 16-inch MacBook Pro because I did not realize. I know you're an engineer, so you knew this, but I don't watch TV. I've never really paid attention to it. And it's just one of those things I didn't know. So I posted about it. Of course, there's people that are like, you're dumb. But also, there's a lot of people that were like, I had no idea. Thank you for sharing that. And to me, the fact that like maybe this will be useful information to them someday, I think that's worth sharing. I don't care if it made me look in some people's eyes dumb. Like, I don't feel dumb. I feel excited that I wasn't the only one. But also, I was really happy that I figured this out and I didn't have to return my backpack, you know?
Yeah, it's true. That's such a good story that kind of touches on everything, like all of the pros and cons of social media. Like, yeah, occasionally there might be people that don't really enjoy your content or that don't have something nice to say. But the people who do have something nice to say, it's so much more empowering than like haters' comments are deflating. Like you will constantly feel like you're being lifted up by the people. You might get one amazing comment for every four rude comments, but that one will outweigh the four.
Other people's opinions don't pay our bills. So why are we putting so much weight on these people that we're all going to die someday? I know that's kind of morbid, but like we are. So why don't we leave as much of a positive impact as we can on this world without having to think about what is somebody going to say about me? It doesn't matter what people say about me right now. Like what matters is the legacy we can leave behind. And I think that outweighs all of the negative comments I get constantly. And I kind of just stopped putting so much emphasis on those because I would never go comment something negative on somebody's account because I walk in confidence. And it's sad because a lot of those comments are coming out of people's own insecurities. And I have to remind myself that and respond with love and kindness to kind of deflate their power fire that they have towards me.
If you're listening to this, rewind 60 seconds and listen again. That was so, so good. Especially, I mean, everything about that was good, but you're right. Other people's opinions do not pay the bills. And you're right. Maybe it is a little morbid, but like I find that kind of being in check with the fact that I am not going to live forever and like the average lifespan is like mid 70s. It's like life is temporary and you're not going to be young and youthful and have the time and energy and be tech savvy enough to be able to do these things forever. Like as you get older and technology advances, I think we've all seen that it's hard for older generations to keep up with technological advancements. So it's not impossible. I mean, for example, we talked to Helen from the mothership the other day, who is a rock star in, did she mention that she was in her 70s
She's in her 60s.
or 60s, maybe? 60s? Okay. She is a rock star video editor and she has nailed social media. It was so much fun learning from her, but that's a unique thing. There's not many people that age that are doing things like this. And she had been doing it for a while first and just kept up with the technology. if she decided when she was in her 60s to get started, that would be an uphill battle. So there is no better time than the present to just go all in on social media and see what kind of doors it will open, because you will never ever see it coming. Like, it has opened doors for me that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah, I look back and I think about all the people that I've encountered in my life, all the different places I've lived, and it's crazy because I can post one thing and people will now know what I do, and then they'll start coming to me for wanting to hire me for different things or wanting to connect me with this person. And if I never told anything on social media about what I do for a living, I wouldn't have those old connections coming back and resurfacing in my life for new opportunities.
And we all have skills and unique life experiences to share that can improve the life of someone else. So there's just so much we all have to offer, but sometimes our brains and our limiting beliefs tell us otherwise.
Yeah.
And it's just a shame because you're going through things or have been through things that you can guide someone else through, and you can help them through, and you can improve their life. Although the last thing you said made me think a little bit, especially while we're kind of like on the topic of doors that social media will open. When I was in middle school, I used to love riding like my BMX bike and scooters and skateboards. And I was like one of those kids, and I was into that. Among other things, I also played baseball and sports and everything like that. But I love doing those things. And all I ever wanted was to be like a sponsored, like skater, biker, scooterer, if that's the word. And I just always, I mean, I was in middle school. I was like, that's impossible. Like, that'll just never happen. I'm not good enough at that. But then later in life, I decided to put myself out there on social media. And now I have all of these brands that want to partner with me. Brands reach out to me asking to partner with me and to help me sell their products and to be an affiliate and wear their clothes and stuff like that. And I'm like, it just kind of dawned on me as you said that. I was like, I'm living my dream as like what middle school me always wanted, even though like it's not in the same niche. I'm not in like the skateboarding or like BMX niche, but it's just so amazing because like I said, when I started my social media accounts, that is not a door I expected to open. I did not expect this at all, but when you put yourself out there, things will happen that you don't see coming.
Yeah, it's that whole concept of just take one step towards where you think you're supposed to be and where you desire to be, and then you'll see everything clear up for the next step. And then you take that, and everything's fuzzy. You might not know what happens, but you're just walking in each step of the day that you're supposed to be taking. And then you look back and you're like, holy crap, I just walked up 100 steps, and I'm like where I've always wanted to be since I was a child. And it's beautiful, but it takes really sacrificing your image of what you want people to think about you and just putting yourself out there. Of course, this is if you have a personal brand. If you have a business, it's a little different because you get to control the narrative a little bit more. But with personal branding, I do think that we need to control our narrative by being ourselves. And then brands that align with us will have all these inbound emails coming to us with brands that want that.
It's true. You're absolutely right. Yeah, you just have to get out there and be yourself rather than try and be someone you're not. And it's funny because, like, getting started doing that does require you to put aside the opinions of, like, the 3 people from high school that still follow you that are gonna be judging you and be like, what is Nick doing?" Like, posting like he is so motivational and inspirational, but, like, that's always who I've been, and I made the mistake of deciding to start my social media channels on my existing profiles. I didn't start new ones. So all of my like followers were like, um, what is he doing? But long story short, now looking back at where I am, it also helped flesh out all of the people that are into it and support me. And so many friends I already had have reached out to me since that time and been like, hey, I just want to say, like, things you have posted have changed my life. Like, I started meditating, I started taking cold showers, or people would come out of the woodwork that I already knew that I didn't know had this side of them. And they're like, hey, I'm like a closet yoga doer. Like, I do yoga all the time, or I do this, or I do that. And it's just doors that have opened that I didn't see coming. Like, I've been able to expand friendships with people and find common ground that otherwise I never would have. So it's just a beautiful thing. But you do have to get over the opinions of a couple of people. Maybe it's 3 people that you know that are going to judge you, so you can reach 30,000 people that think the same as you and appreciate you.
Ooh, that's really good. And I did keep my same social media channels and I don't regret it. I don't think it was a bad thing because I want the people that maybe I came across one time to know that they are still thought of. If they're like commenting on my thing, I'm thinking of them. And it's like this deeper connection. A lot of people say that social media can remove interpersonal connection with others, but in a different perspective that I have is like I feel much more close to people now. And I feel like I can have deeper friendships that are more authentic rather than just surface level because of social media and the way that I'm able to just freely have the confidence to be myself.
So here's kind of a related question. Can you give us a bit of a breakdown of like the difference between just like followers and like really building a community on social media? Because you are a perfect example of like having a really strong community of people that look to you for advice and inspiration and that want to learn from you. And I think that would be something good for us to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I see followers as a number, and a lot of people can fake that number and buy followers, but you can't buy community. Like, if my account was to go down today, I know that if I started another one and I reached out to a few people, that because we're so close and they really know me, that they will start to share, like, oh, Michelle has another profile. Let's go support her because I would do the same for somebody else. And so, I think followers is more like maybe it's like me following the Amazon finds people on Instagram where it's like, okay, I don't know anything about these people. I just want to know what the products are that they're talking about. And if their account went down, I wouldn't notice. Like I wouldn't really notice and I don't know anything about them. I wouldn't know how to find them elsewhere. But if it's somebody that talks about their life like you share positive things, like I would go find you and I would be like, what's Nick saying today? And I think that's a true community person rather than just a follower. And if I post things like I've been trying to find somewhere to live, somebody yesterday commented like, "Hey, what's the update on this? I've been really wondering like how everything's going." That's not just a follower. That is like somebody that understands me and wants to know what's going on in my life. And I feel like that is what brands want. And that is what humans should want because that is a real connection with somebody where you're truly making an impact, not just by sharing the thing, but sharing the message, which is it's a very human connection type thing. And I think that having 100,000 followers is cool, but having 10 followers that truly know you is way better.
Followers are just a number. But having that community is so valuable, and that's where you start to realize, like, once you build a small community, that's where you start to realize, like, man, social media is such a beautiful thing, and like I said, you get this empowering feeling of, like, almost like you have the responsibility now to deliver content to those people, because if they followed you because you are into BMX bikes and stuff like that. It's like you now like you must have a responsibility to continue to provide content like that for those people because they appreciate what you have to say. While you might have people in your actual life that don't appreciate what you have to say. You might get cut off every time you try and speak and no one might actually listen to you. But when you have a community of people that listen to the words that you say and they really care about you, it really is just it's such an amazing thing, but you gotta get over the hurdle of getting started, which can be a little bit deflating in the beginning.
Yeah, it can be hard, but I wake up and I know that I could share something with somebody today that would care what I have to say. And I feel like just the simple fact of knowing that we all have a voice is it's so empowering. Like it's so great to wake up and know that you have a purpose. And like even if your purpose is sharing these things with people online that want to listen and actually can understand you, like especially as a content creator, a lot of people in my immediate life and family don't necessarily even really know what I do. But knowing that somebody across the country understands me and can understand what I do is like, that makes me feel more known. And again, it just goes back to feeling more empowered and confident in myself. And I feel like social media can bring that out.
It's true, especially because social media can allow you to empower and give other people that same level of confidence. Like we mentioned before, that your time on earth is a temporary experience. No one is going to remember that much about you. No one's really going to remember what you said or what you did or what's on your resume, but people will remember how you made them feel and what you've done for them. So if you make content that lifts people up and empowers them, or maybe it just makes them laugh, and you're there for them when they've had a hard day and they just need a laugh, or maybe you help them save money and therefore get to live a better life with their family and their kids. Like that impact that you have on people, that is where that's where it all changes, and you're able to truly leave an impact on the world that otherwise you may not have. You may have just like withheld that part of yourself that you've always been called to share with people, and by not sharing it, that's actually a disservice to the world.
Yeah, and it's not even necessarily like I'm going to wake up today and share all these things about my life. It's the fact that I'm going to wake up today and I have something positive I want to share, or I have something impactful that could change somebody's life. And it really is like, yes, I feel like I have a voice, but my voice is being used to help empower others, and my perspective is to help others, and it's really not about me. It goes back to the whole thing. If I feel like I'm in a funk, I'm going to go serve somebody. I'm going to go inspire somebody, and then I'll feel better about myself. It's always them first. And then that will then in turn be a reflection as to how I'm feeling about myself.
When I was working at my civil engineering job, I always struggled with that because I did not ever feel like I was leaving an impact on the world or servicing anyone directly. I would just sit at a computer and just make money for my bosses. I mean, obviously, things I did were bigger picture than that. I would design roads and buildings and things that end up serving people, but it just didn't actually give me that feeling that I wanted. And social media allows me to do that. It allows me to feel fulfilled and service others, and I feel like that's the key to life. Like, I love how often we talk about how life is short, and, like, that's such an important thing. Considering how short life is, all you really need to do to be happy and live a good life is, like, find love, and help other people, service others, and you will just always have this good feeling in your heart. You'll be happy when you go to bed, and you'll be happy when you wake up.
Yeah, you feel whole. And I think that it's a feeling that social media can bring, but it's also a feeling that some people find that social media prevents them from getting. And so I do think that having the perspective of having boundaries around what you allow to be more like a sponge in your head rather than just going in one ear and out the other, I think that's just crucial. And that's like a whole other topic we could talk about for 24 hours as well. But
Yeah.
I do think that just feeling whole, I want everyone to feel whole. And sometimes in the past when I worked at the nonprofit, I felt whole because I was serving everybody that was in my on my team, all the volunteers I worked with, and that made me feel whole. But my season changed, and I don't want to lose that sense of servanthood that I've always loved doing, and now I get to do the same thing except in my own way. And I think that is so amazing that the season I'm in, I'm able to still serve, but in the digital world.
That's so beautifully said, and it ties into everything that we're teaching and preaching about monetizing your own creativity and servicing others. Social media is such a powerful way to do that. Maybe you're starting a business, maybe you decide you want to be some kind of online coach, or maybe you just have a skill maybe that you love and you want to share with people. Social media can allow you to do that and service others and make money doing it. Like you said, kind of like in the way that you want to, so that you can have the freedom and the schedule to live the life that you want to live while still checking the box of paying your bills, servicing others, feeling good, and empowering others. That's overall, I think that's the four most important things that social media can allow you to do.
Yeah, and that should be what we focus on bringing to social media. I would love if more people had that perspective and made that their goal with social media, because I think that we'll find our people. If we're just ourselves, our people will come to us. Like we'll attract the right people. And I love that opportunity. And like you said, even if it's not you're a content creator, but you're maybe finding vintage clothes, thrifting and reselling them, or you're doing whatever, like whatever it is, people won't know you exist unless you're online. And it just opens up a lot of opportunities.
It's true. It's so true. It opens up a ton of opportunities. And now, given the timeline we're in and the world we're in, and the fact that we're going to do so many more of these podcasts, I'm curious, and I feel like we have to talk about it so we can look back and just know that like this was a thing at the time. I'm curious what your thoughts are on whether or not TikTok will get banned and what you would do. Because I know mine. I could start us off if you need a minute to think, but
I had a feeling you were going to say that. Like, I just kind of knew.
yep.
And so, yeah, no, I talk to people about this a lot. People ask me this more than you think because, I have 140,000 more followers on TikTok than I do on Instagram. Um, I'm always thinking about worst case scenario, but I'm not expecting it. Like I said earlier, if that was to happen, I would go straight to Instagram and YouTube. And I have an email list, so I would just shoot out my information. If somebody wants to follow me on there, they can. But I would do exactly what I'm doing now and just bring it to the different platforms. Like, this is such a long term gain for me that I don't feel like my following on TikTok is going, like, if I ever lost it, that I would be lost and I would be doomed for life. Like, I feel like, okay, that's a little hurdle I have to jump over, but I'm going to continue to do what I do and be who I am. And it might take 2 years to have those same people that liked me before find me again, but I'm here and I can't control whether or not TikTok shuts down. It's not in my control, but I can control my actions and how I respond to that. And I'm going to respond in the best way I know that will still help me reach my own goals. But what about you?
Such a good answer. I knew you would give a good one there because I feel like a lot of people, I get asked that a lot too. And a lot of people expect this reaction like, oh, like you're going to have to close up shop if TikTok shuts down. It's like, not at all. Not at all. Would I wake up with a smile that day? No, that might not be a great day. Just watching 550,000 people that I worked so hard to get to hit that follow button and try and provide value to them. I definitely wouldn't be happy to lose all of those people, but it's just a number. And I still know I was able to impact those people in the past. I would certainly try and get them over to Instagram and be like, hey, well, here's where you can still find me doing the same thing. But it really wouldn't be that big of a deal. I mean, it would be a shame for sure, but new platforms will arise and the mission stays the same. The mission is those four things like helping people and inspiring others and feeling fulfilled myself. Nothing would really change too much. It would be a shame though, because the TikTok algorithm is just so much better than Instagram's for reaching new people and seeing the content you want to see. But that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think that it's the epitome of why you can't put your eggs in one basket. Like, have multiple streams of income, have multiple different platforms that you have a presence on, not a consistent presence if that's not doable. Like, I don't have a consistent Instagram presence, which is why I'm not constantly growing on there like I am on TikTok because I chose TikTok. And if TikTok was to go awry, is that the right word?
Yeah, yeah, you're nailing these words, I think.
So grateful. If not, y'all let us know. But a ring, a right, whatever. If it goes away, that's a more easy way to say it. Then it will suck. Like, I'm not gonna lie. It's a great number that brands like to see. It's not the end of the world. Like, this is my life, and yeah. Hopefully that bridge won't have to be crossed, and we won't have to get there. But we can have another conversation if that ever happens.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just really good to chat about because maybe we'll look back at episode 60 and be like, remember when they almost banned TikTok and we like had to discuss that? So I just figure it's good like current events for when we look back or anyone else who decided to go back and watch this. Maybe it's an old episode by the time you see it. All right, so one last thing I want to talk about for someone, I think this would be good for us to talk about for someone who is a little bit scared of how to manage their time, or maybe they want to get on social media, but they're like, I work a full-time job and I have 3 kids. I can't do that. So I want to know your thoughts on making content. Like, editing and shooting and all of these things and how simple it can be, as well as things like batching.
Yeah, I mean, I always give the advice of whatever season you're in, you have to work around that. Like, you don't want to stay up until 5 a.m. filming content when you have to take your kid to school at 6 a.m. Like, that's not realistic. And I think that taking it little by little is key. Like, even if you film one day and then edit the next day and then you hate the video, still post it. I look back at my videos, even as somebody who has been a photographer and videographer in production, in acting for years, years and years. I still have videos from 2021 where I'm like, that is so cringy. I can't believe I made that. But I'm also proud of myself because if I never posted those things, I would not be where I am today. So I would just say, like, don't compare your content to anyone else's. Don't compare the timeline to anyone else's, and do what you can do. Like, don't try to do what you feel like is going to work and what works for others. Like, if you can do one post a week, do that one post a week. Like, you're not behind. You are right on time. And if you need to hire somebody out, if you can, do it. Like, always do that. That's always a great way to get your time back.
I mean, you nailed it with the don't compare your content to anyone else's. That is so accurate. But also being yourself. We talked about that so much today. It is such an effective strategy. Like my most viral TikTok took me 2 minutes to make. I got home. So I got off work from my civil engineering job at 5 o'clock. I got home at 5:30. I had to leave for a jujitsu class at 6 that started at 6:30. So from 5:30 to 6 was my time, and I was tired as hell. So I made a 2-minute video about how to take an 8-minute nap that will make you feel super refreshed and recharged, and people loved it. People loved that video. It got me so many followers and so much exposure, and it was the least produced video I may have ever made.
But
It
yeah,
took me 2 minutes to make. I was like, "Here's what you gotta do." It was a 10-second video talking about that, and that video changed my life. That video got 33 million views. It got me on the map a little bit. I got tons of brands that wanted to work with me after that, tons of people. My business exploded. So many amazing things happened from that rushed piece of content that was poorly produced, and I was holding my iPhone 10 like shaking a little bit like cuz I didn't even use a tripod. So it just goes to show that there is no right or wrong way to do this. If you're authentic and you work on providing value to people, that's the recipe.
yeah, like I said, you have to just fit it into your current life. Whatever you're doing, fit it into what you're doing. Like, do what works for you. And that's exactly what you did. You're like, I have a second to film this thing real quick before I go to this thing. Probably didn't overthink
Yep.
it. And that's what got all of you're like in a news article, like all these things that blew up. And you weren't trying too hard. And obviously, there's different approaches to what you're doing on social media, but if you want somebody to know you and you want to provide value, that's the perfect way to do it.
I think this was a great first podcast on social media. Like I said, we could go so many hours into this. We could go so deep down the rabbit hole, but this is a great place for people who are listening and thinking about getting started or making social media accounts. I really hope this inspired people to just go do it. Go think of a clever username, find a nice picture of yourself, and just make it happen because it might be the best thing you've ever done in your life, even if it feels like the scariest thing you're about to do.
Yeah, it can be scary, but remember, we do not get paid based on other people's opinions, and just be you. Like, we are all born to be unique for a reason. So just be the person that you were born to be and add value.
Any last minute thoughts to add, or I feel like this was a good one.
This is great. I could talk for, like you said, 24 hours about this subject, but I think that this is a good place to leave off. And we will have so many more coming in the future that even dive deeper into this.
If you're looking to monetize your creativity and find more freedom in your life, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you liked this episode, please rate it 5 stars, drop a review. If you did not enjoy this episode, don't tell anyone it ever happened. And if you are looking to find either of us and our social media accounts, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and Twitter. I'm at Get Ahead with Nick. And if you want to find Michelle, she's at Michelle JH. Michelle has two L's and then four E's at the end, JH. Thank you all for watching, listening, or whatever form you consume this content in. And we will see you next week.